now.
I didn't realize she filmed that.
spinning into yarn.
All right, okay. So this is how they used to do it, or
Yeah, from this, it's obviously it's a modern wheel, but this is the sort of wheel that's around from probably the middle of the 17th century. Yes.
middle of the 17th century.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then it's as good as it gets.
okay,
Because
okay,
it's got a treadle,
okay.
which is what the earlier wheels didn't have, the treadle, and it has now a mechanism called a flyer.
All right,
And
okay.
what that's doing, it's twisting the yarn like that, but it's also wrapping it on at the same time.
Okay. So just making it stronger.
Yeah, because
It's like a thread.
it makes it into a thread.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you're spinning, all you need to do is draw it out as thick or as thin as you need it to be, and then just twist it.
Okay.
So if you look under a microscope, wool's got little tiny scales on it,
Yeah.
almost like snake scales, sort of like triangle snake scales, and they sort of lock together as you
Okay.
twist it. So even just by twisting it by hand.
Okay.
So first methods of spinning will have been twisting by
Hands,
hand and
yeah.
storing it, yeah. And
Okay.
then eventually we end up with the 17th century like this type. I'll show you.
And what is this equipment called?
Oh, a spinning wheel.
Spinning wheel.
Yeah,
That's
just
it.
simple
Okay.
spinning wheel.
Okay.
Yeah. It sometimes they have different wheels according to the area where different parts come. So this mechanism might be called a Picardy wheel,
Okay.
or a tension wheel, but generally it's a spinning wheel. That's the main
All
thing.
right. Okay.
I can show you it twisting around. If I just put a little bit
Yeah.
of wool there, you can see then that's doing the rotating for me.
Okay.
So that's doing the twisting part. So then all I need to do, it also draws it in. So I just need to,
Just add more stuff.
yeah, so I just touch it on and then I draw it out
All right. Okay.
like that. And then just smooth it if I need to. It's as thick or as thin as I want. So I know for this I need it to be what we'd call an Aran weight, which is the weight of the thickness of that. So I just keep a little bit to remind me to spin, so that when it's twisted, it will be approximately that thick. So I know I'm doing it right. So I just check now and again just to make sure.
Okay.
So otherwise, if I'm chatting, it's very easy to go too thin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just have to a bit thicker.
So you just measure it with your hands.
Yes, feel.
Yeah, yeah.
Just the feel. Yeah, and that just comes with practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And one quick question I have is these buildings, right? They said about 50. They rescued 50 buildings or something.
Something like that. Yes.
So are they? They were already here, or they brought it from somewhere else?
There was only one building on site.
Okay.
So all of them have been. So this one was from Horsham,
Okay.
a town near here, Horsham. So they've all been dismantled on site, brought here, and then rebuilt.
All
Yes.
right. Okay. In the same structure. Okay.
Yeah. And then because all of them had no future where they were, so
Okay.
this was just going to be knocked down.
All right. Okay.
The one over there was just derelict; it was just falling down.
Uh-huh.
The house behind you was just on a housing estate, and they
Okay.
didn't want that; they were just going to knock it down.
Okay. Okay.
Another one was in the path of the Channel Tunnel,
Okay.
so it was just going to be knocked down. Another one, a reservoir, they
Okay.
were going to flood it. So yes,
So these are like rescued old buildings.
yes.
Okay.
There's one or two exceptions. There's a
Yeah.
very early house, a Saxon building,
Uh-huh.
that's been built just on the archaeological evidence.
Okay.
So they know that from the post hole, the holes in the ground, what the structure would be. So they built it on that.
All right.
But that's the
okay.
exception rather than the
Okay.
rule. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And what they do is when they bring them here, they number everything, label it,
Mm-hmm.
and then if they need to restore any parts, they'll put some new timber in to replace that.
Okay.
But
okay.
you can always see the new timber; they won't try and hide it.
Okay.
And the idea being that, from conservation point of view, it should always be reversible.
Yeah.
So if you need to take it out,
Mhm.
you can see it. So it's
Okay.
quite fun looking around and seeing which are the new timbers and which
Yeah.
are the
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
It's probably easier to see on the medieval houses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fun to do that. Yes.
It's amazing to see such very old buildings. I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite. We're lucky that they will all have just been lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially.
And these I've seen these white and you see the wooden and the white
Oh
ones?
yes. And it's
I've seen it in many places like Ledlow and
Yes.
some other places,
Yep.
Cotswold and stuff. So what are they called? I mean, these kind of
yeah.
structures.
Usually it's just something called when they're built, like that house on the end,
Yeah.
that's got the scaffolding,
Yeah.
they will fill it. The chestnuts going across are called a lath,
Yeah.
and then they will daub stuff on the outside. And traditionally, it's something like cow manure or pig or something like that, plus straw, and it sets firmly plus clay.
Right.
And then on the outside, they put a wash, and it's
Okay.
usually a lime wash.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's why it looks white and black.
Okay.
But we're not sure. Sometimes, like that one is painted red because there was evidence that one had red. Sometimes these are painted black, but we're not sure how often. Were they always black? I don't know.
Okay. So do we have a specific name for that? I think you're getting a strong sun. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. No, usually you'll hear people talking about wattle and daub or lime wash and daub, but I don't think there's a particular name for it. No.
For that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are like 1400s, 1300s.
Yes.
Yeah.
This type, the medieval. So yes, if you say 15th century, 1400s, 15th century, definitely.
Right.
But even that is a lot older than it looks. As the lady over there will absolutely tell you.
Yeah.
From the outside, that looks really typical 17th century. But when you go in and have a look, it's got an older story to it. Yes. 60s, it was used as quite a modern. It's called Robert Dyas. It's like a hardware shop. It's quite a well-known shop.
There's two houses here, semi-detached. The house is 1860, the furniture is 1890. The Filkins family lived there. Mum, Dad, he was a railway worker, later a signalman, which was quite a good job then, but he would have done lots more than just the signals. And then they had 8 children. So when you go upstairs, you can see all the configuration of how they slept on the beds, you know. When you go upstairs, you can go across the landing and down the other side, and that shows you the construction of the building. So it's quite a good way of sort of I think with the furniture it looks bigger, you know what I mean? So originally came from Ashstead Common in Surrey, and Richard Whittaker, they've kept the name, he owned the land and he sold some of it to the railways. But they didn't use it for 10 years, so they had a strip of land left when they did use it, and a Mr. Fenton, a baker, bought it, built these 2 houses on the side of the railway line, and until the railways wanted to put a more modern one up, that stayed like that, and then we acquired it then. But they little cottage, and I think a lot of people, there are still houses like this everywhere. And I think also as you get older you recognise things in museums, because even the things like the cooking tins, it's similar to what you have nowadays. Nothing's new, it's only recycled type of thing, you know. The garden is one of our 6 historic gardens, so everything in the garden has got labels, and they are all what would have been in here in 1860. Wow. So later in the year we have red potatoes there, and you won't find potatoes in any of the other gardens because they weren't around then. And there's a little toilet out the back and a bothy out the back as well. These sweet peas are one of the oldest varieties, 1602 that variety is, and there's some more up on the thing there, but a beautiful perfume and really lovely. So I think probably they've gone up now. If you go in and just watch, there's nobody in the room as you go.
in a village which is just over the hills there, in a valley, and it could have been quite prosperous because there could have been quite a lot of sheep farming close by.
Okay.
And during the medieval time, anywhere that could have large sheep pastures, the wool trade meant quite a lot of prosperity. So there was this little village, and we're talking about the 1400s. This house is the medieval house.
Yeah.
And it would have been oak timber framed. It would have looked very similar to one of these houses. Long house, 1 story, long house with the exposed timbers and the wattle and daub infills.
Okay.
Just one space inside with perhaps 2 little storage rooms. Actually, we're just waiting. We've got people inside, and then it will be you after this, ladies and gentlemen. So that was like that for many centuries. And local people, it could have been a farm, it could have been somebody who worked on the farm, it could have been somebody who was like a skill, an artisan of some description. Then in 1630, round about then, the lease ran out because the occupant died.
Mm-hmm.
He was quite badly off financially. Somebody else took the lease over. Now it looked like it had been running down. It was becoming in quite a poor state of repair. And the person who took it over, that just happened to have the same surname as the man who died, Catchlove, took it over, and he completely renovated it. So what you've got is a 17th century house that's built around a medieval interior. And he put in the walls with a foundation, which they didn't have before. So the chalk the whole area was a chalk valley, so there were lots of flints, so local flints, local bricks, mullion windows, and then he built the central chimney. I mean, not him himself, but he organised it to be built. Which divided the whole of that interior space up into 2 downstairs rooms and 2 upstairs rooms. So when you go in, you walk this way, you go into this space here, and that it hasn't been totally finished off in the rebuild here. So you can still see the medieval cross beams, the old timber cross beams. And when you look up, you can see the rafters with the soot from the open fire that used to be there. Also when they took down, when they were they were taking down the house, they found a bake oven in the chimney breast. So they assumed that could have been a bakehouse. Any room where something happened, like dairying, was a milk house. Brewing, you call that room the brew house. So this would have been called the bakehouse. But they think it could have been used for giving visitors food and drinks or something. So it was obviously something of economical value because it's quite a large space. Otherwise they would have lived in it and used it. So family lived that side with the chamber upstairs. So when you go in, have a look in that side. Nice room there. When you go upstairs to the bedroom, and if you go out the back way, it means that you're not interfering with the people at the front. But I will keep an eye open so I know that you've left the house and send other people in.
100 years old. It was built in a small village called Soul Street, which is near Canterbury, which is about 70 miles away from here.
Yeah.
That's a little hamlet with 24 other similar houses. The house was made from elm. The wood here is not oak, it's elm wood,
Okay.
which is a different type of timber to use.
Interesting.
Much more common in the part of the country that it came from,
Mm-hmm.
in northeast Kent, to use elm.
Mm-hmm.
And the family that lived here, the very first family, and a few generations afterwards, were husbandsmen. They were yeoman husbandsmen, so they looked after cattle.
Mm-hmm.
They had cattle farm that was based around the village, and they probably had 4 or 5 children. And after them, there were other generations of the same family, all paying rent to the same landlord. But the good thing about that is because they're the same family name, it makes it easy to find their records.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
So when you go inside, you'll see there's no ceiling. The raft, it goes right up to the rafters,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a space in the middle of the room, the aisled hall, the main hall inside, where the fire would have been. There's no chimney.
All
it's
right,
just
okay.
an open fire in the middle of the hall.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank
Very
you.
pleasure.
hard to tell exactly because the timbers had already been used with another building, so it's hard to get that exact date, but yeah, about 1630 to 1650, and it was built on the edge of a common land. And the advantage with common land is you could go and get your firewood, you didn't have to pay for it. If you had a cow, you could graze your cow for free. So, but it's quite a big cottage for that time. Most cottages at that time would have been one room downstairs, one room upstairs, whereas this is a 2 room. So it was a good size. Wouldn't have had a very big garden, probably about the size we've got here.